See Beneath Your Beautiful podcast is raw and intimate, sometimes funny, and always entertaining. With new episodes every Saturday, Hara explores our loves, fears, and hopes with a delicious combination of depth and lightness. Today we interview Misty Springer. Misty, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm really excited to be here, just honored to be in this conversation with you. And I am a life coach, and I work with women in helping them step into their divine purpose and really access the wisdom that is in their bodies and their minds and their hearts, and help them get into aligned action, release limiting beliefs, and step into the woman they know in their heart they were designed to be. And really, it's about helping women to step into the divine potential, which is within them and within all of us.
How did this become what you're doing? How did you find this?
I work with a lot of women entrepreneurs and women who feel like they have very purpose-driven work. And that purpose-driven work is typically driven by a personal story or a personal experience. And mine is no different. So I started out my journey just like a lot of women on this path of perfectionism and trying to find my way to perfectionism through my body and what my body looked like, and trying to control it and never feeling satisfied with it, and just looking in the mirror and crying tears because my body wasn't looking the way that I wanted it to look, and feeling like I was trying to do everything to change and nothing was working. And I wasn't feeling happy and I wasn't feeling satisfied. And it led to a really unhealthy relationship with food and my body, and a very tumultuous, rocky relationship, and emotional and binge eating, and feeling very out of control with food. The food had more control over me than anything else in my life. I felt like I was pretty successful. I had a great relationship. I could look at all these other parts of my life, and it just felt like I had no control over my eating. And so I really started to dive into that. And I started down the path of health coaching. I actually was trained as a health coach, and really started looking at it from the place of nutrition. And what I discovered was that even though myself included, I would work with women who had very similar stories to mine. They had a tumultuous relationship with food, and they wanted to change that. They had the desire to do something different, but every time they showed up, they had the perfect plan. They knew exactly what to eat. They could tell you exactly what they needed to do to follow their perfect plan, and it never worked. There was always something that got in the way, and that fascinated me because that was my struggle as well. And so I started really diving into the heart and the mind, and what is the process that we go through to stay motivated and to stay connected to ourselves and our goals. And through that pain of going through what my body was telling me through the cravings and the emotional eating, I really found access to myself, and I found access to my purpose and who I was designed to be. I found my truth. I call it enlightenment at the bottom of the chocolate chip bag because it was a process. It was a process of understanding that my pain was actually there trying to tell me something. And I'd been ignoring it for so long. It wasn't until I actually started listening to my body and treating my body as a friend rather than something that I needed to change that I actually found my way to where I am today, which is helping women access their own truth and come from a place of alignment.
I totally relate to that story. I actually got choked up, and I feel like I succeeded. I did counseling. I started to love myself. I dropped all the excess weight. I was feeling so good, but I'm right back to where I was. I totally relate to everything you just said. And it's so frustrating because I feel like I love myself. I want to take care of myself, but I'm at the bottom of the cookie bag. So What are some things you do with women to help them?
There are so many women that are plagued by this same story. I don't believe that your story or my story is unique in any way. I believe that it's often a hidden story. I don't think many women want to share the extent of it, and we'll joke about it and we'll laugh about it and we'll say, oh, I was so bad today. But deep down, it really is a very heart-wrenching place to be, because it's very challenging to be in a place where you feel like you're consistently not showing up as who you were designed to be, that you're out of integrity with yourself. And it's not about the weight. It's not even really about wanting to be healthy, although that's, a much better stance than, I want to lose weight. But it is about really this desire to be in integrity with ourselves, to show up as that woman we know we're designed to be. And we know when we have that, there's that feeling of, yes, I'm connected to myself. I'm connected to my truth. I'm connected to that energy of yes. So what I do is we have to sometimes look back into the beliefs. What are the beliefs that are creating this? And oftentimes we may not even have conscious access to what those beliefs are. Whenever we, what I call, run into our invisible brick walls, those are those times where we're like, I keep running into this invisible brick wall and I don't know why. All I know is that my head hurts and my nose hurts, but something is stopping me and it's driving me crazy. I'm frustrated and stuck. That invisible brick wall is oftentimes the beliefs that we hold. And some are really deep-seated unconscious beliefs that we may not even be aware of. And so a lot of the work that I do with my clients is by accessing the wisdom of their bodies. I use body work to help women to access what their body is telling them is in the way. Because your body is really your best friend. Your body is there as a guide to lead you to the wisdom of what you need to hear and uncover. I was in a session just this last week working with the body. We were able to uncover some really critical beliefs. My client was like amazed. She's like, I just thought this was a knot in my back. And after we were able to work through it and work through what she needed to get from that message that her body was sending her, not only did she feel more in control, the knot in her back was gone, so it's a process of really tuning in instead of distancing. So that's one of the ways that we approach it.
What does body work mean?
I use a process and a technique where basically we're just asking your body to let us know what it needs to hear. It's really just a process of visualization and meditation that allows you to access the wisdom of your body.
Oh, I did something like that. Was it called ASMR or something?
Oh, EMDR.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those letters.
Mm-hmm.
I only did it a few times. The lady that was helping me actually retired. Otherwise, I might have kept doing it. But that is when I stopped overeating. There was this lady that took care of me when we were growing up. She would force feed me when I was the last one at the table. I was the youngest of 6. And she would put my hair in too tight of ponytails. And when we were talking about her, I almost felt like I was going to throw up. And I was so surprised. My body still remembers. So maybe I need more work about her.
And oftentimes we put so much emphasis in what we're doing, in the actions that we're taking. That's the plan, right? That's the laying down at night and saying, tomorrow I'm going to be better. And I'm going to take all the sugar out of my house and I'm going to walk past the brownies on the counter. I'm not going to be there. We focus so much of our energy on the to-do list and how I'm going to make this change. What we forget is that there are our beliefs, thoughts, and feelings that lead to our actions. Our beliefs create our thoughts create our feelings create our actions. And so we're missing the first 3 components of the solution when we're only focusing our energy on the what do I do? I call it creating the energy of yes. When we focus on our beliefs, thoughts, and feelings, and when we create from this energy of yes, create from my truth, I call it the first voice. When we tune into that first voice, that's when we start showing up differently. That's when the cookie doesn't have the power that it used to. We are giving the cookie the power when we're trying to resist it, when we're trying to say, go away, craving, I don't want you anymore. You're not here in service to me. Go away. And when we push it out, that's when it fights its way back in. What we resist persists.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. It's just exhausting, really.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning I have a plan. And every night I'm so disappointed in my choices. And they don't even feel like my choices. I'm somehow so mindful and not at all, like I'm able to ignore the little angel and just talk to the devil. And on top of that, though, I'm having so much grace with myself because I really did learn to love me. I'm not my choices and I'm not my body. It's such a fight going on inside me because I do love me, but I also don't feel comfortable.
That's that exhaustion that you're feeling, is the fight, that resistance between the two parts. And there's the part of you that feels like you accept and you love yourself. And then there's the other part that's saying, wait a minute, but I don't feel good. I don't feel good in my body and I want it to change. And how do we do that?
Right.
That's where we access getting your mind, body, and heart in alignment so that you can say yes, because there's a part of you that's fighting against yourself. And we need to understand what that is and why, because it's only when we have awareness that we have choice. Otherwise, an invisible brick wall, we can't beat ourselves up for running into something we can't see, right? And often we do. Why am I still here? This feels awful. I am in so much pain because I keep running into this wall, but we don't see it. And so we can't beat ourselves up for something that we don't see.
I love that.
It's only when we actually bring that brick wall into awareness that we have a choice. And anytime you feel like you're in that place where you're running up against something and it just feels invisible, that's a time to go a little deeper and ask the questions why, because your body is saying there's information here.
I really love this conversation. I'm so glad we're having it. Somebody mentioned, she said she stopped binge eating. She was following this person about anti-diets. And so then I dove deep into anti-diets. And I do know that I've been on a roller coaster since I was 12 years old. And my mom put me, which I didn't need at the time, on the Scarsdale diet because she was doing it. And so I was on the Scarsdale diet. And since 12 to 53, this year, no. So 12 to 52, I've been on a diet. And now I've read too many anti-diet books and I don't want to diet. I don't want to say food is bad or I'm bad for eating the food. And so my mind is very confused because I can't eat willy-nilly either. What do you think about dieting or a nutrition plan or something that you have to stay on, but we're bound to fail? My brain really is exploding with that information I don't want to diet, but I need to lose weight.
That is the question. That's why 95% of all diets fail, because we are expecting someone else to have the answers. Even reading a book on not dieting is saying, please tell me how to do this. We give away our power all the time to the expert, to somebody else telling me what the answer is. And giving away our power is what allows us to stay stuck, because we feel like the answer is outside of ourselves. There must be something I'm doing wrong. There must be something more that I need to learn in order to create the change that I want. That place that we get stuck in so easily, because that's how our brain is designed to work. It's designed to look for those solutions, but we can't get to a solution with the same brain that created it. We have to start with our beliefs, thoughts, and feelings. We have to create from a different energy so that we can get a different result. The very first place that I start with all of my clients is helping them access the best version of themselves and operate from that place. It's finding and accessing the answers within. And that's why I focus on mind, body, heart. We access the truth that is within us. That's the first voice, your truth. That's the part of you that feels like the best version of you in integrity with who you are. The second voice is all the noise, the doubt, the confusion, the overwhelm, the I'm not doing it right, the comparison. All of that is the noise that keeps us from actually listening to our truth. And that truth is powerful when we actually tune into ourselves and find it within instead of finding it in the books or in the other experts out there.
How do you go deep with somebody?
My entire program begins with really, like I said, operating from the best version of you. And the way that we access and get through to that first voice is by creating safety. You have to feel safe for you to be able to access who you truly are and the truth of who you truly are. And we have to find that through stillness. Where we begin in the work that I do is by creating almost like a vision board, but it's you fully stepping into the best version of you. I've been doing this for, 8 years now, and it still blows me away that the transformation that happens after the first session. And this is so much more than just accessing your best self with your mind. Like, oh yeah, I'd like to be that. And oh, wouldn't that be nice? Creating even a vision board. It's very visual. This is a completely different experience. This is about fully stepping into and embodying the best version of yourself, and creating from that place is powerful. It's a different kind of a motivation. It's who doesn't want to take care of something that they love versus I have to make these changes. That's where we begin. And then from there, every session is really custom designed to what do you want and what do you want to create? And let's get really clear on what that looks like and what you would be thinking and feeling and believing if you were in that place already, creating from possibility instead of creating from the problem. But then we also have to look at what stops you, what gets in the way of being that version of yourself or having what you want. And that's where we really start to uncover the limiting beliefs and the limiting thoughts that are getting in the way. And when you have those two combined, so you have the vision of what you want, creating from possibility, from the power of your best self, and you also are understanding what those invisible brick walls are and bringing those into awareness, then you have a choice. One of my favorite quotes, I use it all the time, is where you shine your light is what you will see, and what you see is the direction you'll go.
Yeah, I love that. What can somebody do that can't afford a coach?
There's a couple of different books. One is Women, Food, and God. That's a great one. And it's the process of journaling. The one thing that I have found to be so powerful, I call them sacred conversations. It was from a mentor of mine, Chris Angel, who introduced me to the concept. And it's something that I've done personally in my own life for a long time. But he kind of put a name to it and put the box around it. So I want to make sure that I honor him and that idea. But the idea of sacred conversations is just asking yourself a question and then listening for the answer, and not expecting that answer to come from your head, but really tuning into your heart and having no expectation of what the answer will be or should be. Oftentimes I'll ask, I have a very deep relationship with God, and it's very important to me. And so I will ask God, what am I meant to be doing today? How do I address this problem? And then I just wait for the answer and I write down whatever comes to me. But it is that process of tuning in to your own truth and understanding yourself from that place, your own internal wisdom.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? I didn't know this was what we were going to talk about, but I'm glad we did.
One of the things that made a huge difference in my journey, because this idea of looking outside of myself for the answers is not something that just is associated with food. The way we do one thing is the way that we do everything. So I found myself doing that in my business as well. Like, oh, how many clients do I have? How much money do I have in the bank? Then I'll feel happy. Then I'll feel successful. And I went to, I called it an emotional boot camp because that's really what it was. I felt like I was emotionally beat up afterwards. But part of that experience, just really getting in touch with what I was feeling and what I was experiencing, was to go on a nature walk. And I was walking down along a really beautiful lake, and I just stood and felt compelled to watch the swallows on the water. And the thing that really brought me so much peace, but also just brought me to tears, really, was watching the swallows. It looked like they were dancing. It looked like they were having the time of their life. They were swooping and swerving. And I just thought, oh, I would love to just be in that freedom of being able to fly and swoop and swerve and play and dance like the swallows. What hit me was that the swallows were not just playing. They were actually doing their important work. They were catching bugs. They were doing what they were designed to do. And because they were doing what they were meant to be doing, they were designed to do, they were doing it with joy and ease and freedom. That is what we all have access to. It was such a profound moment for me. I actually use that a lot in my own personal morning routine, just recognizing that feeling. When we show up as who we are designed to be, there is that flow. There is that ease. Yes, we're doing important work in the world, and it feels joyful. It feels like we're dancing through life. We always show up in motivation when we're doing something that feels like flow. That's what we're creating, is that energy of yes, so that whether your important work is finding a better relationship with food, or your important work is what you're doing out in the world, sharing your experience, or it's a business that you're building, or it's even just being a mom, that important work is yours, and it's what you were designed to do. And it can be joyful, and it can be that flow.
Oh, I really love that. And I know that feeling. And I know you're right, because when you're doing something that you love, it's not hard at all. There's no pressure. It's just what you're supposed to be doing. And it's so full of joy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love this conversation so much. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your time.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure. It's been a joy. For anyone who your question about, even if you can't afford coaching, my first consultation is free. And I do that because I am really invested in helping women access what they want and what is stopping them, because that can be such a frustrating place to live. So anyone who would like to contemplate coaching or is looking at coaching, the first consult is always free.
The last person I interviewed was Richard Brooke, and he was saying that he has spent, the last he figured it, 15 years ago, he had spent $250,000 on coaches himself. And he said that is the only way, really, when somebody's working directly with you, on you, that's how you get results. And I think that's true. That's why diets don't work, is because it's a blanket statement and it's not your body.
I 100% agree. The investment in yourself always pays dividends. Always. I still have a coach. I have had many coaches, and I will continue to have a coach, because every time I invest in myself, it comes back tenfold. And whether that is in personal growth or whether that is in financial growth, I have never regretted. I've regretted not hiring a coach. I have never regretted hiring a coach once I've started and gone through the process. It's always been an investment that I've been happy to make. Not easy to make, but happy after the fact.
I have had the same experience every time I have invested in myself in a coach or a retreat. I can't believe what I've learned about myself or the friends I've made. And so
this has just been a joy, and I truly hope that someone feels inspired and recognizes that the answers are already inside.
So I'm Lacey Mancius. I have 5 kids and I'm married, and my husband and I own 2 businesses. I started working with Misty actually because my husband and I had been struggling. I just really felt like she had all of the elements that I wanted. She has like a spiritual element, but then she's a licensed counselor and she has lots of different tools to offer. So I felt like it would be better than just going to, like, say, a counselor. She has helped me tremendously. Like, I thought the problem was my husband or my marriage, and it turns out that it's not. Great thing about Misty is that she asks you questions on your own personal journey that she kind of guides you through. It's not suggestive. She's just asking me questions and then I get there on my own. But she helps me see, like, oh, I thought the problem was the circumstance, but it's actually a same pattern of behavior or thinking or approaching a problem that I've had since I was a kid, which is shocking. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my gosh, this isn't actually the problem, which then completely changes my perception of the problem and then it resolves. So it's incredible. I just think she's incredible.
Right.
She always has my highest self come with a gift, and it's there. She's given me hope, and most probably importantly is empowerment. Misty just really helps you get to the core of the problem and like the fundamentals, and no matter what the problem is, she is worth every penny. I really feel like it's one of the best decisions I've ever made for myself. The investment that I'm putting into my own healing and into my growth vastly benefits my children and my husband. It's a gift I'm giving myself and my family. There is this one problem. I've had this one day a week that I've been struggling with, Sunday, for years, like probably 20 years. And that problem is gone. She's totally helped me work through it. And it's incredible to me that I never thought I would get past this. And so she's given me a day back a week. You know what I mean? A day that I really struggled with. She is like an angel sent into my life, that God led me to her. And I am just so grateful for all that she's given me.
What do you mean she gave you back a Sunday? How does she give you back a day?
I had a lot of resentment around my husband on Sundays. I just felt like he was kind of lazy. He would kind of sleep in. And like, I am a very religious person, and I would feel like he needed to be a part of teaching my children about Jesus Christ. And he just wasn't really doing that. Like, I had a lot of different levels of resentment. I was taking care of all the kids and I was stressed out, but it was all kind of focused at him. And then she really just helped me see that I had this trapped feeling that I had had since I was a kid. Then she helped me see that it was in lots of different areas and places. And so every Sunday I would just have this horrible, resentful feeling, like the whole day. It would just be a horrible day. And I would just be mad and frustrated. Mm-hmm. And so I don't feel that way anymore. Like, it's completely gone. I mean, just changes your perception of like, oh, so all of these things that I thought were just his fault are actually coming from me, and they're applying all these different places. And so now I can let this go. You know, it just gave me the power to be able to let that resentment and that frustration go. Because of that, it's gotten me to like a neutral place where I don't have like expectation or negativity. And so now my Sundays are beautiful. Like, I have wonderful days. So incredible to me that I went so long with them being so bad. You know, like, it's really sad, but I'm like, thank you for giving me my Sundays back so I can just enjoy them and not be like angry all day.
I'm Hara Weir, and I am a business coach and trainer for leaders and their teams to improve communication, to strengthen how they show up with each other, to strengthen their team and their productivity and innovation together. Misty helps me really identify where my limiting thinking is, where my limiting core beliefs are, and then really helps me visualize, identify what those are, but then also identify, what do I need to believe and what do I need to think in order to create what it is I want to create. So then she helps me visualize that and gives me action steps to take to create what it is I want.
Has there been anything surprising?
Well, I've been doing personal development work If you don't count family counseling, what I was required to do in high school, I pretty much started on my own journey probably about 27 years ago. So I've done a lot of work. What surprises me is that she keeps surprising me because I've had, oh my gosh, nearly 3 decades of personal development, therapy, just work on myself to heal from childhood trauma, from healing from experiences that were out of my control as a kiddo. And the work that I've done has been really helpful. And then working with Misty, it's like taking it to a whole nother level. For me personally, we go back and forth between processing some childhood trauma, but also really about getting unstuck in my business. I have like ghosts that just echo in my head of very critical and like this perfectionism that holds me back. It keeps me from really producing what I can produce and creating new services. And it's held me back from expanding as a person and as a business.
Totally relate.
It isn't just talking. It's not just a brain process. It's about getting embodied and really present, and then to be in touch with the best version of myself and to glean wisdom from her. I mean, that's just fabulous. It's really, really powerful. I have found it incredibly transformative. Really, the work with Misty is about owning my own journey. It's owning my limits. It's owning my brick walls. It's coming out of the blame. It's coming out of the I'm stuck, and it's into the I can do this and I'm making this happen because it's already real, because my best version of myself is already there. You know, the insights and the empowerment that I feel is so strong that I think that if you're really ready to kind of look at the shadows and own the beliefs around those shadows and make choices around what we want instead, and then to take action, you know, like I have action steps that I always write down, and I mean, I could do them or I don't have to do them, right? It's up to me. The tools that she's given me, the processes, the steps, the way to think about it and organize my processing of situations and that kind of thing. That's just priceless.
Do you use what you learned with Misty and take that to your clients?
Some of the processes that she uses, I've incorporated in some of my business coaching.
Like what kind of process?
Like, for example, I start all my coaching appointments out by having them go over celebrations. Give me 3 celebrations in which you were in alignment with who you want to be at work. And then we move from there. She's been a great teacher to me. Something that she also has taught me that I've actually said to my clients too, because a lot of them say, well, that was a personal thing, but that's not work related. And I'm like, hey, you know what? That is okay. Because how we do one thing is how we do everything. And I love that expression. It's
Me
like,
too.
yes, because it all applies, you know, like we have these lines between where we are and what we're doing and who we're doing it with. And yet we're the same person showing up with the same beliefs. And where your light goes is what grows, you know, like I love that too. Her method or style in coaching is so kind and so gentle and so loving and so encouraging, and yet so challenging at the same time that it works.
Hi, I'm Dina Bodano. I like to say I'm a multifaceted entrepreneur. My main gig is shampoo, and then I also do paint and wine events, and then I also do a podcast, Dream Big with Dina Bodano. I've always been such a person who looked to the positive. So very positive, focused, very joy focused. But I've had a couple of darker seasons in my life.
So you're coaching with Misty. How long ago did you find her, and how did you find her?
She was on my podcast back in November. And then kind of the beginning of the year, it was really when I started thinking about it. I thought, this is something I need to do for myself. And then wrestled with the idea of, am I worth it? If it was my child and they needed something, I would figure a way.
I love the perspective that you would do it if it was your child. I really appreciate that.
I love the process that she took me through in the very beginning, tapping into what that best version of yourself, who she is. We did some really deep work on my inner child, and I had no idea that my body was communicating to me that my inner child was hurting and in pain. And that was the second session. And I feel so transformed because of that alone. The last session that I had with Misty on Thursday, we were really kind of talking through self-sabotage. And she had walked me through this process of shame. When did I first remember feeling shame? I had to be maybe 10 or 11, somewhere in that age range. And I was with a group of girls. We all decided to wear matching outfits. Well, Levi jeans were really popular at that time. My body was not made for Levi jeans, but the rest of the girls were very thin. Their bodies looked good in those jeans. And then I remember it was a pink polo top. Well, my mom took me to get those jeans, and, everyone else could wear them but me. And I just remember riding home and thinking I was so ugly and my thighs were so fat. And that thought process has stayed with me over the years. Like, I've had repeated that same scene in my head. Mm-hmm. The sun was shining in the car. It was a beautiful day, but it was like the sun was just highlighting how incredibly huge my legs were. And I just felt like I didn't fit in. There was something wrong with me. Why could everybody else, but I couldn't? And I just felt wretched, just the messaging I was giving myself. And I love that she brought me to that place, because I was able to go in and speak to her, to sit in her body and just say, no, you're beautiful. Your body there's other jeans out there for you. You can look good in other jeans. Your thighs are not your enemy. They're beautiful. And I want you to enjoy what you have right now, and just speak that message into that girl and show her love and care, and just how transforming that whole conversation was. I love to ride my bike. I've loved it since I was a kid. And today I was thinking about how strong my thighs are and how they can really help me push hard so that I can enjoy going faster. And I love that. Like, why wouldn't I love that?
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Just like in nature, there's so many different varieties of bushes and trees and plants. And the same with our bodies. Like, I love the variety of bodies. I think it's beautiful to look at bodies the same way we look at nature. I've done a lot of personal development. I've not had really a coach. So the coaching to me feels very centered on me. And not in a selfish way. It's just in a way that I'm focusing on me. I'm intensely focusing on my growth. And I just see how it's going to, and it already is, spreading to those people around me.
My name is Reagan. Currently, I am a high school life skills teacher for kids with disabilities. And I am also going to school myself to finish up my degree. And I'm a busy mom of two kids and a new puppy. I was in a abusive relationship for many years. We were married and decided to depart from that for the sake of my kids. And have actually been in a custody battle for almost 11 years since.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's been a constant re-triggering of the traumas that happened during the marriage. After we separated, I went through a season of really severe PTSD and just completely lost myself, almost completely, I would say. It was very robotic and just in this state of survival. And I knew when I visited with my family after the separation that I needed to do something. They could hardly recognize me. I was very quiet and just kind of scared of everything. And so they helped me find a therapist. At that time, it was for domestic violence, but I felt like I was just rehashing the story over and over again. And while it was helpful to sort through my own thoughts, but also I was missing something. It wasn't helping. I wasn't getting the comfort that I was seeking. I was just reliving the traumas over and over again. There was still just these blocks that I just couldn't get through. It just wasn't in my body. I couldn't be present. I was in a constant state of worry. And I had actually won a ticket to an event that Misty Springer was co-hosting. And it was like immediate connection. Like the angels were singing, the bells were ringing. I was like, who is this person speaking? It just felt she was speaking right to me. And I felt motivated to do the written work that we were doing in the workshop, which was a lot of overcoming our personal blocks. And it was exactly what I needed at the exact right time. And I'm like, okay, this is divinely aligned. Like, she's fantastic. I wasn't in the best financial situation. I mean, a single mom, 2 kids, but I invested. And what we've been doing is just kind of rewiring those narrow pathways. And I thought I was helpless because I had tried all those other forms of therapy, layer by layer, memory by memory, trauma by trauma. We revisited those in such a nurturing, comforting, safe way. And there are memories that I had forgotten about, but were really attached to so much. And the key, I think, that's really helped me with working with Misty is the fact that she connects the mind and the body. So it's not just the mind and you're all up in your head. It's actually processing through those emotions, processing through those memories in such a compassionate way through the inner child work and through just connecting with your best self. And it works for me. I will continue to let her heal me. I feel so honored. You can't put in words or summarize the impact. I feel like a different person. I started harnessing the fact that I am in control of my decisions. I can dream. I can think about my future. And I have the ability to follow through. I'm deserving of that. I am capable. I do get to choose. Before, it wasn't even... my eyes weren't open enough. I wasn't aware enough to see those things, the goodness, the support, the way that the universe was working with me. And now I can. There's so many victories that happen coming from a relationship that was very damaging in a lot of ways. It stripped me of my self-worth. And that's what I've gotten back through the therapy. And that is, can't put a label on that, can't put a price on that, that is everything. And we're all worthy of so much. It's up to us. It's not anybody else telling us that we're not worthy. It's all in us. It's all up to us. If that realization doesn't come naturally, it does take work. It does take daily reminders. Having a coach, somebody checking in and making sure you're accountable to the practices that you say you're going to do. and also the celebrations, being accountable for those moments of goodness and freedom, and that you're not overlooking them, that you actually acknowledge them and take the time to really celebrate them.